Everybody ready? Okay. I'm here today to give you some information and talk to you about an arrest that we made of a police officer earlier this morning. Officer Dan Hamlin, who's been with the Sheriff's Office as a police officer for about 17 years, has been arrested and charged with 26 counts of official misconduct and 1 count of grand theft, and you should be able to get that in the paperwork that you have there. There was some suspicious overtime that was identified by his chain of command, and it was forwarded to our integrity unit, who started looking into this. The integrity unit looked at 42 court overtime submissions that were turned in between January 2nd and June 7th of this year, and a minimum of 26 of those were proven to be fraudulent. We looked at all 42 of them. Obviously some of them it's a little harder to tell just exactly what happened, and on some of them it was a little easier. Pretty much all of them that were turned in were submitted as a pre-trial meeting, and if you're not familiar with it, when we make cases, sometimes we have to go to file the case, sometimes we have to go for depositions, and in some cases we go over for pre-trial, where we have to meet with the attorney who might tell us what they expect to come up in the trial and what additional information or evidence they might need. All the overtime submissions were made in accordance with our procedures, the way they're supposed to be done. But he would turn those in when he was off duty and present to his supervisor that he was called to report for pre-trial meetings at the state attorney's office. Because of the number of them and a couple other things that they identified, they looked at all those. As I mentioned, 26 of them were proven to be fraudulent. A lot of those cases that he said that he was over for pre-trial on, we found out that the cases were over and disposed of. We even found a couple instances where the attorney that he said he met with no longer worked at the state attorney's office. So a warrant was issued by the state attorney's office yesterday, and as I mentioned, 26 charges of official misconduct and 1 of grand theft. So that's kind of it, and if you've got some questions, I'll try to help you. Well, that totaled about $4,425 in overtime payments, so the theft is for basically fraudulently claiming overtime, and he got paid for that overtime. That'll be part of the criminal case, I'm sure. The restitution is always part of that. Yes, and with court overtime, there's another piece in that where they go through court liaison, but yes, it is kept up with electronically, and their supervisor signs off on it. Well, you know how this works. I mean, they have a process that they can go through, but actually he signed a resignation, so he's resigned. Yes. Yes. No, it's pretty uncommon. We have 3,000 employees, and everybody submits electronically all of their time and attendance, and we have provisions in place to look at that. But like I said, some things like court overtime, when we get subpoenaed by the state attorney's office or the public defender or whoever, we're required to respond whether we're on duty or off, and then we turn that in. And sometimes that can be a little difficult for the supervisors to track just where you are because they're not here. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't have it, but we can get that for you. I'm sorry, I don't have it. He was in patrol. I don't think so. This was somebody that took advantage of a system, and it doesn't matter what system you put in. I'm afraid sometimes they can sort of find a way to do it. It was identified. We've been working on this now for a number of months because, as I said, we went through looking up through June, and he was made aware at that time we were looking at it, and all the overtime stopped. But it took a while to get with all the people in all these 40-some cases to try to figure out whether any of this was legitimate or not. No, we investigated the 42 that I mentioned, and of those we feel pretty comfortable we can prove 26 of them. The other ones we don't think we can prove, so we're not going to pursue those. All right, thank y'all.